The bite of expensive scotch turned bitter on my tongue as my sister's words sliced through the country club's ambient piano music. I nearly choked, forcing myself to swallow as the liquid burned down my throat. "It's just embarrassing, honestly," Vanessa's voice carried, perfectly calculated to reach me as I approached their table, gift bag in hand. "Rachel and her little restaurant job, Dad's paying for her rent again this month." My father, whose birthday we were supposedly celebrating, nodded in solemn agreement while my mother patted his arm sympathetically. They hadn't seen me yet. 3 feet away, I stood rooted to the polished marble floor, my gift bag suddenly heavy as lead. The restaurant manager caught my eye with a look of recognition before quickly averting his gaze. He knew me, not as the struggling eldest Miller daughter my family was describing, but as the owner who had approved his promotion last quarter. "My name is Rachel Miller. I'm 32 years old, and I own a restaurant empire. This is the story of how I transformed from the family's charity case into the success they never saw coming. 6 months ago, I'd purchased Westfield Country Club, the very establishment where my family had flaunted their membership for decades. I hadn't told them, just like I hadn't mentioned buying Le Jardin, the French restaurant where they celebrated every special occasion, or Valencia, where my sister hosted her engagement party, or the 29 other high-end establishments across 3 continents that comprised the Miller Restaurant Group, named with a private satisfaction they'd never appreciate. I live modestly by choice, reinvesting profits rather than flaunting wealth. My apartment was practical and centrally located to my businesses. My wardrobe was selected for function over designer labels. These choices weren't born of necessity but of strategy, something my status-obsessed family had never understood. "Poor Rachel," my mother sighed, adjusting her tennis bracelet. "If only she'd taken that position at your firm, Thomas." My father swirled his scotch, the amber liquid catching the light. "Too stubborn for her own good. Restaurant management instead of finance. What a waste of potential." The words echoed years of conversations where they'd refused to co-sign my MBA student loans for hospitality management, where they'd mocked my business plan as playing restaurant, where they'd introduced me at family gatherings as Rachel still figuring things out, while Vanessa was following in her father's footsteps. I squared my shoulders and approached their table. "Happy birthday, Dad," I said, placing the small gift beside his plate. Vanessa looked up, her smile tightening when she saw me. "Oh, Rachel, we didn't see you there." Her eyes flicked dismissively over my outfit. "Glad you could make it. We were just discussing the new chef here. Isn't the food divine? The scallops are particularly good." I agreed, taking the empty seat. Chef Marcus has an innovative approach to seafood. My father frowned. "You've eaten here before? I thought this place was outside your, budget constraints." "I manage," I said simply. "Well," my mother interjected, clearly trying to change the subject. "Vanessa was just telling us about their trip to Paris. They dined at Le Jardin. Thomas, remember when we had to wait 6 months for a reservation there?" Vanessa preened. The maitre d' recognized the Miller name immediately. We were seated at the best table. "Of course they did," I murmured, accepting the wine list from the approaching server. "Miss Miller," he said respectfully, "Chef Marcus mentioned you might stop by tonight. He's prepared something special for the table." My father's hand paused midway to his glass. My mother's smile froze. Vanessa's eyes darted between me and the server. "Thank you, Eric," I replied. "That would be lovely." As Eric departed, silence descended on the table. My father cleared his throat. "You know the chef here." I took a sip of water, savoring the moment. "I know all my chefs, Dad." "Your chefs?" Vanessa's voice cracked slightly. "Yes." I set down my glass with a deliberate clink. "All 32 of them." My mother's fork clattered against her plate. 32 what? "Restaurants," I said calmly, "including this country club, Jardin, Paris, and Valencia, where you hosted your engagement party last spring, Vanessa." The silence that followed had texture and weight. My father's face cycled through confusion, disbelief, and something approaching fear. Vanessa's mouth opened and closed without sound. "Tiens, that's not possible," my father finally managed. "You live in that ordinary apartment, you drive that basic car, "Because I choose to," I interrupted. "Unlike some people, I don't measure success by what I wear or where I live." Eric returned with a bottle of wine, a rare vintage worth more than Vanessa's designer purse. "Your usual selection, Miss Miller." "Perfect, thank you." As Eric poured, I watched realization spread across their faces like a slow-motion wave. 6 years ago, I continued, when you refused to co-sign my student loans and told me I was wasting my potential on serving food, I took out private loans at terrible interest rates. When you bragged about Vanessa's junior position at your firm while dismissing my little restaurant job, I was restructuring Le Jardin from near bankruptcy to the most exclusive reservation in Paris. I leveraged that first success to secure investor funding for my second and third acquisitions. Within 3 years, I had established enough credibility with banks to expand internationally. My phone buzzed. Likely my London team with updates on our newest location. I ignored it. But your apartment, my mother whispered. Your car. My choices, I finished. I prefer investing in my staff's healthcare and education benefits rather than showing off wealth. I don't need to prove anything to anyone. Chef Marcus approached personally with the first course, a dish not yet on the regular menu. Miss Miller, I'd value your opinion on this new scallop preparation before we add it to the permanent menu. Thank you, Marcus. It looks exquisite. As he departed, my father leaned forward, his investment banker brain visibly calculating the value of my empire. Rachel, he said, why didn't you tell us? Why would I? I sampled the scallop, perfectly seared. You made it abundantly clear that my career choice wasn't worth acknowledging. Vanessa's phone buzzed, probably one of her country club friends who'd spotted us and was spreading the word about who really owned their favorite establishment. Word traveled fast in elite social circles, and I knew my secret couldn't stay contained for long once revealed in such a public setting. Is that why you never joined our family vacations? My mother asked. You said you couldn't afford to come to London last summer. I was in London, I replied, overseeing construction of my new restaurant. I just stayed in my penthouse instead of the family hotel. Eric approached again. Miss Miller, that investment group is calling again about your restaurant chain. They're offering to buy the entire Miller restaurant group. Tell them what I always tell them, Eric, not for sale at any price. My father's knuckles whitened around his glass. Investment group? Goldman Sachs, I said casually. They've been trying to acquire us for months, offered 12 times earnings last week. The look on his face, the investment banker who had dismissed my business plan years ago, was worth every sleepless night of my career. About reservations, Vanessa began, calculation replacing shock. I'd love to bring some clients to Le Jardin next month. Your name doesn't guarantee special treatment anymore, I cut her off. In fact, you might find some of our establishments mysteriously booked when you call. The staff tells me everything, Vanessa. Our customer management system flags your name and alerts managers whenever you make reservations, every attempted name drop, every time you are rude to my employees, every complaint about prices that you charge to Dad's account. I smiled. I know everything that happens in my restaurant. My mother tried a different approach. Darling, you must let us host a celebration to think our daughter is such a successful restaurant owner. Funny, I observed, that wasn't worth celebrating when you thought I was just managing one place. Eric appeared with a tablet. The wine list for London, Miss Miller, and Mr. Jackson called about the Tokyo location. My father's head snapped up. Tokyo? Opening next spring, I confirmed, though I'm sure Vanessa can tell you all about it. She was just there last month trying to use the Miller name to get a reservation at my Paris restaurant. Our reservation system is integrated across all locations, so I receive notifications when family members book tables. Vanessa had the grace to blush. I didn't know, clearly. I stood, smoothing my dress, actually a handmade piece from a small Parisian atelier. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to speak with my chef. But it's Dad's birthday dinner, my mother protested weakly. And I've paid for it, I replied. As I've paid for every meal you've had in my establishments for the past year without your knowledge, our system automatically identifies Miller family credit cards but processes them normally. I gestured to Eric. Please make sure my family has everything they need. Add the usual gratuity to their bill. Their bill? Vanessa squeaked. Of course, I smiled. Just because I own the place doesn't mean everything's free. That wouldn't be good business, would it, Dada? In the kitchen, Chef Marcus greeted me with enthusiasm, showing me the planned menu for London. Through the kitchen's viewing window, I could see my family huddled in uncomfortable conversation, my father's face flushed with what might have been embarrassment or anger. My phone buzzed with texts. From Vanessa. I'm sorry for everything. I had no idea. Can we talk? From Mom. We were wrong. So wrong. Please forgive us. From Dad. I never saw it. Your vision, your potential. Can we meet tomorrow? I typed a single response to all of them. Reservations required. 3-month waiting list. No exceptions. Then I turned back to Chef Marcus's brilliant creations, to the empire I'd built while they weren't watching, to the success they'd never seen coming. Later that night, as I walked through my apartment, actually the entire top floor of the building minimally furnished because I preferred focusing on what mattered, I looked at the framed review from when I'd first bought Le Jardin. Unknown buyer transforms struggling restaurant into culinary empire. Unknown, underestimated, unstoppable. I picked up my phone and sent one final text to my family. Next time you judge someone's worth, remember, the person you're looking down on might actually own the ground you're standing on. Then I opened my laptop to review plans for the Tokyo location. After all, success isn't about proving others wrong, it's about continuing to prove yourself right. And sometimes the sweetest taste isn't in the finest wine or the perfect scallop. It's in the moment they realize they've been dining in your success all along.